Assalamu alaikum, dear friends. Today, I want to share something that touches the very core of our being, the power of the mind, and the way it shapes our reality. You see, Allah has blessed us with an incredible gift, our thoughts. Every challenge, every struggle, every moment of life begins first in the mind, and yet, how often do we allow our thoughts to be clouded by doubt, fear, or negativity? In the Quran, Allah reminds us that with patience, faith, and reliance on Him, we can overcome every difficulty. Training your mind is not just about discipline, it is about aligning your heart, your intention, and your belief in Allah's plan. When you learn to harness your thoughts, when you learn to guide your mind toward positivity and trust in Him, no situation, no challenge, no test can defeat you. Today, I want to help you unlock that power within yourself, to train your mind to win in every situation, with faith as your compass and resilience as your shield. The mind is one of the greatest blessings Allah has granted us, a gift that holds within it the power to shape our experiences, our emotions, and the very trajectory of our lives. It is through the mind that we process the world, that we interpret the events that surround us, and that we decide whether we will succumb to despair or rise in resilience. In the Islamic tradition, the mind is not merely a tool for logic or reasoning. It is deeply connected to the heart, to the soul, and to the trust that Allah places upon us to navigate the complexities of life. The Quran reminds us repeatedly that the test of life is not merely external, it is also internal. It is a test of how we perceive, process, and respond to the circumstances we are given. Every thought, every perception, every internal dialogue carries weight, and it is through these that we either fortify our spirit or weaken our resolve. Recognizing this power is the first step in understanding the immense potential we carry within ourselves. When we begin to see the mind as a sacred trust rather than a chaotic collection of thoughts, we start to approach life differently. We begin to understand that challenges are not arbitrary punishments, but opportunities to exercise faith, patience, and wisdom. The mind, when aligned with the principles of faith and mindfulness, becomes a lens through which every situation can be perceived as surmountable, as a chance to strengthen character, and as a reminder of Allah's infinite wisdom. Yet the mind is also fragile, susceptible to distraction, negativity, and fear. The whispers of shaitan, the internalized doubts, and the worldly distractions all seek to cloud our vision and weaken our resolve. It is in these moments when the mind is tempted to despair or surrender that true training begins. Training the mind is not about suppressing thoughts or denying reality. It is about cultivating the ability to respond rather than react, to choose faith over fear, and to replace uncertainty with trust in the divine plan. One cannot train the mind overnight. It requires patience, reflection, and intentionality. Each day presents countless moments where the mind can either be strengthened or weakened. From the moment we awaken, the mind is bombarded with impressions, news, social interactions, personal expectations, and each of these impressions can subtly shape our thoughts and ultimately our actions. Developing awareness of this process is crucial. We must learn to pause, to reflect, and to ask ourselves, are my thoughts serving me, or are they leading me away from resilience and faith? In this conscious reflection, we cultivate what the scholars of Islam describe as muraqabah, the awareness of Allah in every moment, and the understanding that our thoughts are accountable before Him. The power of the mind is intrinsically tied to intention. Allah has given us not only the ability to think, but the responsibility to direct those thoughts toward goodness, clarity, and patience. When we encounter difficulty, it is natural for the mind to feel overwhelmed, to spiral into worry or fear. But it is precisely in these moments that the discipline of the mind proves its value. A trained mind does not ignore fear or grief. It acknowledges these feelings while choosing not to be dominated by them. Instead, it seeks perspective. It seeks solutions. It anchors itself in faith. and it reminds itself that every hardship carries within it the seeds of growth, understanding, and spiritual elevation. Consider the heart of the believer intertwined with the mind. When the mind is disciplined, the heart finds tranquility. The anxiety that once consumed the soul begins to subside because the mind, having been trained, recognizes the presence of Allah in every circumstance, the perfection of His plan, and the potential for ease after hardship. This is not mere optimism. It is a conscious, active engagement with reality guided by faith. A mind trained to win in every situation recognizes that life is filled with tests, yet none are insurmountable when approached with clarity and reliance on Allah. Challenges that might appear as obstacles become opportunities for reflection, growth, and the strengthening of character. For example, when faced with failure, the untrained mind may succumb to self-blame, despair, or resentment. But a mind trained to win understands that every outcome, whether favorable or adverse, is a chance to learn, a chance to cultivate patience, sabr, and a chance to realign oneself with the guidance of Allah. In this approach, the mind becomes a source of empowerment rather than a source of suffering. It learns to navigate the ebb and flow of life with wisdom and resilience. Meditation upon Allah's words, reflection upon His signs, and the conscious choice to cultivate positive and constructive thoughts are central to this training. The Quran frequently emphasizes that remembrance of Allah brings tranquility to the heart, and this tranquility begins in the mind. When we actively train our thoughts to focus on solutions rather than problems, gratitude rather than complaint, trust rather than doubt, we lay the foundation for success in every situation. Moreover, training the mind is inseparable from self-awareness. One must understand the patterns of thought that dominate their mental landscape. Are we prone to pessimism? Do we dwell on past mistakes? Do we exaggerate fears of the future? By recognizing these tendencies, we create the possibility for transformation. The mind, like any muscle, grows stronger through consistent practice, repetition, and conscious guidance. Just as the body requires nourishment and exercise, the mind requires reflection, focus, and engagement with that which elevates the spirit. A mind trained in this way learns to respond to adversity with composure, to approach uncertainty with courage, and to seek solutions rather than dwell on problems. It becomes a mind that does not merely react, but acts with intention, clarity, and faith. One of the most profound aspects of a trained mind is its ability to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. This understanding, emphasized repeatedly in the teachings of Islam, frees the soul from unnecessary anxiety. We recognize that our effort, intention, and actions are our responsibility, but the outcome is in the hands of Allah. A mind that internalizes this principle develops resilience, for it is no longer consumed by the illusion of total control or defeated by the unpredictability of life. Instead, it channels energy into constructive action, persistent effort, and continuous self-improvement. The process of training the mind also involves cultivating gratitude. Gratitude shifts the focus from what is lacking to what is present, from despair to hope. A mind anchored in gratitude is a mind that can see solutions, opportunities, and blessings even amidst difficulty. It learns to recognize that every situation, no matter how challenging, carries within it divine wisdom and a chance for growth. Furthermore, the mind's power is amplified when coupled with prayer and supplication. Through connection with Allah, the believer's mind gains clarity, direction, and strength beyond its natural capacity. This spiritual alignment ensures that thoughts are not mere reflections of personal desires or fears, but are guided by divine wisdom. The training of the mind is therefore a holistic endeavor. It involves intellectual awareness, emotional regulation, spiritual connection, and practical application. It is a daily, ongoing effort where each moment becomes a chance to practice patience, focus, and trust. Life itself becomes a classroom, and the mind is both the student and the instrument of learning. As we engage in this training, we notice subtle transformations. The mind that once wavered in fear now approaches challenges with curiosity and determination. Thoughts that once spiraled into despair now seek understanding and solution. Internal dialogue shifts from self-doubt to encouragement, from complaint to gratitude, from fear to trust in Allah. In essence, a mind trained in this manner does not merely react to life. It interacts with it consciously, purposefully, and with unwavering faith.
There is a kind of mystery that settles over the human heart when it realizes that it is being watched, not by the ordinary gaze of passing strangers, nor by the innocent eyes of a friend who merely observes with warmth, but by the relentless and tethered gaze of one who has bound their very thoughts around your existence. It is not an accusation at first, nor even a revelation that feels alarming, but rather a whisper that grows steadily louder. You begin to notice that even when you walk in silence, even when you are alone, even when no sound stirs in the corridors of your mind, a presence follows. And that presence is not merely the echo of your own memory, not merely the recollection of faces you have known, but the weight of a name unspoken. A name so persistently chained to your journey that it trades behind you like a shadow that cannot be dismissed. What is it that compels another to fix themselves so tightly upon your being? Why should your steps, ordinary as they are, summon the interest of another to the point of obsession? It is not your grandeur, for you may have none. It is not your brilliance, for perhaps your words do not glitter like polished jewels. It is not even your beauty, for beauty fades and yet the fixation endures. No, it is something more haunting, something buried beneath the folds of the soul. It is the mystery of being known by someone who does not truly know you, and yet believes with unwavering conviction that they do. The strange and unsettling truth about obsession is that it thrives not upon reality, but upon imagination. The one who is obsessed with you does not see you as you are, but as they have fashioned you to be in the theater of their mind. You are no longer a person with flaws, contradictions, moments of weakness, and untold depths of individuality. You are instead a portrait, painted in colors they have chosen, framed in gold that they have crafted, hung upon the wall of their desire where you cannot move nor speak without their permission. They see you not as a living, breathing soul but as a character in the story they wish to tell. And so the name of the obsessed clings to you, not because they have truly understood you, but because they have woven you into the very fabric of their illusions. It is a dangerous thing to be carried in the heart of another in such a manner. For love, when it is true, always sets free. It desires the good of the beloved more than the possession of them. But obsession does not set free. It binds, it chains, it drags, it clutches. It whispers that you belong not to yourself but to another, that your choices are not your own, that your future cannot unfold without their intervention. The name that echoes behind you does not echo as a prayer, but as a demand. It does not ask for your flourishing. It insists upon your presence. And so you feel the weight of this unseen hand pressing against your steps, and you wonder whether it is possible to live unshadowed again. Consider the subtlety with which obsession weaves itself into the daily rhythm of life. At first, it is flattering. Someone notices you, someone remembers you, someone calls your name when others have forgotten. There is sweetness in the thought that you are precious enough to linger in the mind of another. But that sweetness soon curdles when you realize that the attention has shifted from gentle remembrance to unyielding fixation. You see it in their words that circle endlessly around the same themes, in their eyes that follow without rest, in their gestures that cross the boundary between affection and control. What once felt like kindness now feels like a net, and you stand like a bird whose wings tremble against the cords that have closed in. The name of the one obsessed with you is not always spoken aloud, yet it is carved invisibly into the air you breathe. You hear it in the silence, as though it drips from the corners of unseen walls. You feel it when you lay down to rest, as though the weight of their thoughts presses upon your dreams. You recognize it when you wake in the morning, as though their longing had already arrived before you stirred. Such is the strange haunting of obsession. It does not need proximity to exert its influence, for it thrives in the imagination, and imagination requires no permission. Yet here lies the deeper question. Why do we allow the shadow of obsession to fall upon us without resistance? Why do we walk beneath its weight as though it were unavoidable? Perhaps it is because there is a hidden hunger in every heart to be wanted, to be desired, to be sought after with a zeal that does not fade. We crave the assurance that we are not easily dismissed, that someone, somewhere, holds us in the center of their attention. And so we tolerate the presence of obsession because it feels like proof of our worth. But what a dangerous exchange that is. To trade freedom for flattery, to mistake possession for love, to allow chains to bind us simply because they glitter in the light. There is also the peril of not recognizing when obsession has crossed the threshold from harmless admiration into something far more consuming. For admiration delights in who you are, it rejoices in your growth, it delights in your choices, it blesses your journey, even when it does not walk beside you. But obsession resents your growth, for growth means change, and change threatens the portrait they have fixed of you. Obsession despises your choices, for choice means independence, and independence is rebellion against their imagined ownership. Obsession curses your journey, for your journey leads beyond their grasp, into lands where their gaze cannot follow. And so the obsessed clings more tightly the further you attempt to go, dragging you back into the prison they have built with their own desires. The name of the one who obsesses over you is both a secret and a snare. You may know it, or you may not, but either way, its echo is enough to alter the rhythm of your days. You begin to act differently when you sense the gaze upon you, to speak differently when you imagine their ears listening, to move differently when you feel their shadow pressing close. It is as though your life is no longer wholly your own, but shared unwillingly with another, whose desire has trespassed into your very identity. You are no longer simply yourself. You are yourself as seen through the distorting glass of another's fixation. And yet, you must not forget that shadows cannot exist without light. Obsession lingers in your shadow precisely because there is something in you that shines, something worth noticing, something luminous that has drawn another's gaze. And while that gaze has turned unhealthy, while it has shifted from reverence into enslavement, the truth remains that you carry within you a radiance that is real. Do not allow the distortion of obsession to convince you that your light is a curse. Your light is a gift. But like all gifts, it must be guarded, lest those who cannot bear its brilliance attempt to snuff it out or seize it for themselves. The mystery of obsession is that it tells more about the one who obsesses than about the one who is obsessed over. For obsession reveals hunger, emptiness, longing that has nowhere else to go. It is a mirror of need, not a reflection of worth. The one who clings to you with such intensity is not declaring your infinite value, but exposing their infinite lack. And so their name, though it haunts you, need not define you. Their gaze, though it follows you, need not bind you. Their shadow, though it lingers, cannot extinguish your freedom unless you consent to remain in its reach. And so you walk on, carrying the knowledge that someone, somewhere, has chained their heart to yours with threads of unyielding desire. You hear their name in whispers, you sense their presence in echoes. You feel their hand lingering in your shadow. But you are not a prisoner of their fixation. You are more than the sum of their illusions. You are a soul fashioned with a purpose greater than another's hunger, a being made to walk in light that no shadow can finally overcome. There is a peculiar sweetness in being praised, a sweetness so potent that it can lull even the strongest of souls into a kind of sleep. When another turns their gaze toward you with admiration, when their words fall upon your ears like honey, when their gestures seem to say that you are the very center of their attention, there is a part of you that begins to believe it. It feels good to be remembered, to be noticed, to be cherished, to be told that you are unlike any other. And yet, sweetness can be deceiving. For just as wine can gladden the heart yet intoxicate the mind, so too can flattery delight the spirit yet dull the judgment. And here lies the danger. To remain too long under the intoxication of flattery is to lose the sharpness of discernment, to forget the difference between a love that frees and a hunger that enslaves. The call, then, is to awaken, to rouse yourself from the dream that being adored is always a blessing, to shake free from the haze that convinces you that admiration must always be trusted, to open your eyes to the possibility that beneath the sweetness lies a snare. Flattery is not always false, but it is always dangerous, for it does not necessarily reveal the heart of the one who offers it. A person may speak words of praise, not because they see you, but because they wish to bind you. They may lift you up not because they honor you, but because they hope to keep you in their grasp. And so discernment is required. The discernment to distinguish between affection that grants wings and obsession that forges chains. What is the mark of affection that frees? It is patience. It does not rush, it does not demand, it does not insist. It waits for you to grow in your own time, to bloom in your own season. It rejoices when you take flight, even if your flight carries you into skies where they cannot follow. True affection delights in your freedom, for it knows that love cannot thrive in captivity. It speaks words of encouragement, not to control, but to bless, not to flatter, but to strengthen. Its gaze does not suffocate, it steadies. Its presence does not haunt, it comforts. When you are seen with such affection, you are not diminished but enlarged, not enslaved but set free. And what is the mark of obsession that enslaves? It is urgency. It cannot wait, it cannot rest. It cannot allow you to move at your own pace. It seeks to hurry you, to corner you, to bind you to the pace of its hunger. It is restless when you are absent, agitated when you are distant, furious when you are independent. Obsession does not rejoice when you flourish apart from it, it resents it. It does not delight when you grow, it fears it. Its flattery is not encouragement but bait, designed to lure you into surrender. Its gaze does not steady but pierces, its presence does not comfort but constrains. Where true affection frees, obsession enslaves. Where love gives, obsession takes. Where love blesses, obsession consumes. The peril of intoxication is that it dulls the senses so that these distinctions blur. When flattery fills your ears, you forget to listen for the tone beneath the words. When admiration lifts you high, you forget to notice the chains that are quietly being fastened around your ankles. When attention surrounds you like sunlight, you forget to test whether it warms or burns. And so the call is urgent: awaken, awaken, awaken. For only the awake can discern the difference. Consider how flattery speaks. It tells you that you are the only one, that no one else compares, that life without you is unthinkable, that you are the answer to every longing of their soul. These words sound like devotion, but they conceal a subtle poison. For the heart that is truly free does not need to enslave another to survive. It may cherish you, but it does not collapse without you. It may rejoice in your presence, but it does not despair into nothingness in your absence. It may value you highly, but it does not reduce you to a necessity. Flattery, however, makes you feel as though you are indispensable, not because you are truly honored, but because you are being claimed. And when you believe such flattery, you begin to mistake your captivity for importance. Awakening requires courage, for it means daring to test the sweetness, to question the praise, to examine the devotion. It means asking, does this affection bless me, or does it bind me? Does it enlarge my freedom, or does it shrink it? Does it honor who I am, or does it demand who I am not? These are hard questions, for the intoxication of flattery whispers that such doubts are ungrateful, that questioning devotion is cruel, that refusing admiration is arrogance. But wisdom knows otherwise. Wisdom knows that it is not cruelty to test what claims to be love. Wisdom knows that affection which is genuine will withstand examination, and only obsession will rage at the questions. The difference between affection and obsession is like the difference between open hands and clenched fists. Affection opens its hands, offering itself freely and allowing you to come and go. Obsession closes its fists, gripping tightly and refusing to let go. Affection says, I love you as you are. Obsession says, I cannot live unless you are mine. Affection celebrates your independence. Obsession despises it. Affection is secure in itself. Obsession is desperate. To awaken is to notice the posture of the hands extended toward you. Are they open? A blessing